I would like to ask you, with everything you just said, is what's your thoughts on synchronicity?
Um, Synchronicities, pretty sweet. Um, what I'm seeing is that when you have synchronicities, that's like it, because all of our universe or everything in our field is a reflection of us on some level.
Mm-hmm.
So that is allowing you synchronicities, like the time being a certain number at whatever time, even though you don't plan on that. Obviously, it just like, whoa, every time I look at the clock, it's 222 333 or whatever. And those are I think, this quantum field that we're in, right, allowing us to kind of see that there is like a rhyme or reason for it. It's not just for nothing. Like we're not here just doing nothing. There's a reason for things. And it also allows, in my perspective, or opinion, whatever you want to call it, for self-reflection. Because when you see that so many times in a row, you got to sit and think, why is that happening? It's almost like it makes the universe alive, if you want to call it the universe, or whatever. It makes things alive. Like there is an interaction going on between, our minds and the things around us, basically. And there again, the things around us is just a reflection of what is in our mind. It's like some people call it a hologram, like it's our hologram reflection or quantum field. Or I mean, and so there's that part of it. And then there's also bigger synchronicities, like at times when you have been able to see certain things or experience certain things happening in your life to where they fit together, like one thing from when you were 5 to when you were like 12 to when you were like 22 or whatever, and they all fit together in a way that is like not probable at all. It's like it. And then that's when we have these, like, I don't know if you want to call them epiphanies or whatever, but they're the spiritual aha moments where you're like, oh wow, that's why that happened, and that's why I'm here like that. And we only get those things if we look inward and we contemplate these things, like ponder upon what could this be, why would this be this way, and then we receive more information from the ethers or whatever. I heard something the other night that was very interesting. Is that because our brains are like antennas, like it's a big antenna, and we don't have any original thoughts. Like we don't originally think of anything. Like all these thoughts are just floating around, and we antennicize on them, or they come in through our antenna, and we're like, we either grab onto them or not, or we think they're ours or not. I know when I was born and as growing up, I thought every thought that I had was something I came up with. Nobody told me otherwise, and there's really no instruction here. And that's one thing that I thought was really fucked up when I first got here to Earth, was that there's no one to tell you what's going on. Like grandma doesn't know, mom doesn't know, dad, nobody knows. You're like, why are we here? I don't know, because of God. And it's like, well, where's God? Where can I find this God? What's going on here? I need to talk to somebody to figure out what is really going on here. Because with so much chaos going on and so much, like, not cool stuff, and like things that don't need to actually happen, like fighting and things like that are over, things that aren't really necessary, or it's like it's for no reason kind of thing. It's like, well, why does this happen? It doesn't make any sense, at least not to me,
Right.
So kind of a little off topic there, but
No, it's fine. You're doing great.
yeah, synchronicity is awesome. And I've experienced synchronicity to the point to where I asked the universe one time, and I picked the most random thing ever. I was like, and I was like, let me see Snake or Jake. I used to call him Jake the computer snake, because it rhymes, and Jake was this guy who sold computers that I happened to find online and stuff, and that turns out some of my other friends knew him too, and I'm like, oh, Jake, and I bought a computer from him, so, and he was always watching Scooby-Doo when I went over there smoking tons of weed or whatever. which is cool. You know, this was back in the day in Kansas, and so it's like, okay, well, I had already done my business with Jake like months and months ago, so I'm like, well, let me run into him. Okay, universe, I want to see Jake. If this is the real thing, if you're like involved here, things like that. So, you know, like weeks went by or however long. I don't even remember how long. It wasn't too long though. And I was at my daughter's father's house and picking up the kids or something like that. And fucking lo and behold, whatever that means really. But he walked in the fucking door at their house and I was like, whoa. And I didn't think too much of it at first, but then they started like talking and I think somebody lit a doob or whatever, you know, because I think they were buying their pot from him or something like that is what was happening. But anyway, you know, and then I started to, as we were all standing around, I started to realize, wait a minute, I remember asking to see Jake and then I was like, whoa, this is fucking a trip. So I started tripping out and stuff and people were like, what's going on with you, man? And I'm like, nothing, you know, don't worry about it. I don't think I told anybody, of course. I don't think so, because how are you going to explain something like that in like 2 seconds to somebody?
Well, you just said it to me, and you explained it pretty well.
Yeah,
So you
but
did
when
good.
the thing though, and people they're not like really wanting to know what you have to say, because here you're asking me what I have to say, so it's okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But in the crowd, nobody's really gonna I've had enough experience to know nobody's gonna give a shit about what I'm trying to say about things, which is unfortunate, but that's just the way it is. And I've come to accept that without getting my feelings hurt. Finally, at like 53, you know what I'm saying? It took a while. It took me a lot of hurt feelings. But, you know, I get it. People aren't really into what you have to say so much because they're running their own fucking program. They're running their own thing. So that's cool. When you do meet somebody who's like interested in what you have to say, though, usually that's when you make friends and things like that, because who wants a friend that doesn't give a shit about what they have to say? You know what I mean? So,
Exactly.
yeah. So that showed me that, yeah, I mean, it really just blew my mind, seriously. And I mean, it sounds so much less exciting than it was just telling the story, but it was one of those things to where it just took my world and like, whoa. Okay, universe, okay, I get it now. I can't deny you anymore, whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that. And so I know that the universe or your field or whatever you want to call it is interactive. It's super interactive. And that's how people manifest things, for sure. And knowing that actually empowers you to, you know, be a better manifester, for one. And just to know the whole place we're in better than you would before. But staying oblivious to that is one of the way or the things that will allow for the outside forces, you know, the ones with all the money that run all the TV shows and things like that, allows them to control folks better. Obviously, if you don't have any consciousness about your own consciousness or your own thoughts or anything like that, then of course you're going to be manipulated more than you would be otherwise. So that's another reason that I created all these t-shirts, is to, in any little respect that someone can, you know, tune to or see, then, you know, they can maybe start, you know, knowing themselves better. Really, that's the goal, is for people to know themselves better and to realize where they're at, and that they're not powerless. They're not, you know, to be ruled by these rulers. That's not what's supposed to be happening. You don't have to take instruction or let someone else or have someone else tell you when something's okay or when it's not okay, or, you know, like anything you want to do, you can do it. Your world is completely up to you. It's really not up to anyone else. And
now, there is one thing I want to ask you, because from what you've been saying here, this is probably the best time to bring it up before we move on to the next part that you talk about. But you've been saying some stuff that has made me want to ask you what. Well, first of all, what's your thought about moments of clarity? Like, have you ever experienced any times where you've had that aha moment, that moment of clarity where freaking everything actually makes sense? You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Several.
No, I mean, if you could share those and then tell us what your thoughts are about those moments of clarity and what they mean, that would be pretty cool. Because that's what I'm hearing a lot of what you're saying there. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Well, there's been quite a few. I don't know that I can remember all of them. However, I had the huge one that sticks out is that oneness experience that I had in 1992, and that was like even just a millisecond of I don't know if you even want to call it clarity. It was definitely clarity, but it was beyond clarity. It was more into the whole. I mean, it's like for just a split second, I knew everything there was to ever know, ever, which is, that's even hard to imagine, but that's how it felt. And it was me. It was gigantic, and it was me, but it wasn't just me. It was everybody else too. It was like everybody was there too. And we were super connected, and that's where the idea of everything is one came from for me. I mean, I'd heard that growing up, like and you got to remember too, when I was growing up, there was no cell phones. If I wanted to know something, I had to go to the library and look it up. It was like that. And I did research occultism from when I was like, I don't know, 10 or 12, right in there, those, because I had acid experiences and things like that, to where I'm like, I got to find out what's going on here. So I've always constantly been asking questions, and that's what led to the oneness experience I had, was just asking myself, okay, well, if this is this way, then what about this? And it would be wonderful to like find out or remember what it was I was actually asking about when that happened, because I don't recall exactly what it was, but I know it was definitely about like reality, and it was about how things happen and why they happen and things like that. And then all of a sudden, poof, that's what happened. And I remember I looked up in the air. I was outside at the time, and I was like, and I didn't really obviously realize anything about that till I tried to remember what it was. And I remember what I was doing, and I remember I was looking up there. Was it a UFO? I don't know what it was. Why was it up in the air though? Why not looking at the ground? I don't get it. I don't get why it was up in the air. Maybe it was a UFO thing. I don't know. Maybe there's other people. And what I kind of think is that there's like this thing that went out, this idea or frequency or something from folks that are, more advanced than humans are, and it was outside of the control veil that they have or whatever, to where they put this out, and like a lot of people noticed it. I don't think I was the only one. It was like in the later part of 92, I believe. I don't remember what day or anything like that. It would be neat to get regressed and find out exactly what I was thinking and stuff, because it would just be interesting. I remember partially like being in the bathroom, like, oh, well, what's going on here? And there's been, if you ever want to like know more about yourself really, and you're really trying to find out, it might be kind of a lame way or mundane way, but look in the mirror and talk to yourself, because you'll find that when you do that, it accelerates the process for whatever reason, maybe because you're faced with your reflection or something, but it really does help. In my experience, it does help. So there was, I mean, that was like, and then when I snapped out of it, which was like a millisecond later, I remembered that my lifetime here and who I was here, and that I was this chick Sonya and all this stuff. But before that, I was like as gigantic as it gets, and it was like, and so looking, and when I remembered who I was, it seemed like it was so small compared to what I just was faced with, which was everything, and we're all each other, and it's just the whole thing, and how we're all connected and things, and then my lifetime here was so tiny compared to that. It really was. It was like, which is even more mind-blowing. The whole thing was just like, wow, what even happened there? I don't think that we can really have these experiences like this just on our own.